this session is presented by Tata Teleservices. Manoj, if I can request you to just play a little teaser video for Tata Teleservices. All right, that was a little interesting offering by Tata Teleservices, so do check them out. All right, now it's time to get our speaker. Very, very interesting topic. This is something which both you and I have been thinking over the last 40, 50 days. What is the future of e-commerce? And who better to talk about this than someone who's been a serial entrepreneur? He's the co-founder of the exciting range of beverages called Again Drinks. He's also the author of the best-selling book, Failing to Succeed, the story of India's first e-commerce company. And he's widely hailed as the father of e-commerce in India. He's an industry veteran who's pioneered the e-commerce industry in India when he co-founded India's first pure-play online retail company, Fabmart.com, later rebranded as indiaplaza.com in 1999. He's advised global brands like Deloitte, Diageo, and the Tata Group in their digital initiatives. I've had the fortune to hearing him on multiple occasions, and according to me, he's like the Gita. Whenever you read, you learn something new, and whenever you hear him speak, you will learn something new. That is my conviction. So if you're excited about today's session, type in excited in the chat box. Let's keep the positivity flowing from where Mr. Anil left it. Type excited in the chat box. Great. I can see the messages coming in. So looks like we're all set. So with a huge round of applause, please welcome Mr. Vaitheeswaran.
Am I audible? Can all of you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So first, thank you so much for this very nice introduction and the kind words, Anmol and Mr. Anil Kumar. Satish, very good to see you again. This time we are meeting each other online, but as always, it's a pleasure getting involved in an event by the talk. This is probably the fourth or the fifth time I'm getting involved in an event by the talk, so I'm very, very happy to do this. What we'll do is over the next maybe 20-25 minutes, I'm going to take you through what we believe are likely to be the changes affecting the global retail industry and thereby the impact on e-commerce. E-commerce is a very small part of the overall retail industry. So I think we need to understand what's likely to happen in consumer behavior, what's likely to happen in supply chains, what's likely to happen in offline retail before deciding what's the future of e-commerce. And then thereafter, we'll be happy to take some questions from so many participants. I'm quite excited to see the number of participants started at 100 at 11:30. It's already jumped to 200 plus. So nice to see so many people interested. Okay, so let me just start off with a few points that I had made. The first and the most important question that people are asking is, are we going to go into a recession or are we going to go into a full-fledged depression? Let me quickly explain what the difference is, because most people don't understand the key difference between a recession and a depression. What is very clear is that business is going to drop, business is going to get impacted, and in the short term, business is going to get very badly affected. That seems to be fairly clear. Now, the difference between a recession and a depression is that a recession is something that lasts, which is a negative growth of business or a drop in business or a slow growth of business over short periods of time, maybe 2 quarters or a max of 3 quarters. A depression happens when the same thing continues for a significantly longer period, maybe 6 quarters, 8 quarters, couple of years, 2.5 years, it becomes a depression. It's the difference between an epidemic and a pandemic. And clearly, the virus that we currently face started as an epidemic, but very quickly got upgraded to a pandemic. Fortunately, I'm not sure that the recession that we're going to face is going to become a full-fledged depression. Not yet. And let me explain why. I think clearly in the short term, we are going to see a drop in business. We are going to see a recession. The depression is unlikely to happen. The last time a depression happened, a full-fledged depression happened was in the 1930s, which is almost close to 100 years back, 90 years back. The reason depression is unlikely to happen this time is, unlike last time, governments across the world have stepped in and put in what is called massive amounts of stimulus. Now, if these massive amounts of stimulus were not put in and were not introduced into the system, then there is no doubt that we would have gone into depression. And the depression takes a long, long time to recover, because the depression itself lasts for more than 2 years. And then the recovery starts, which means we're talking of almost half a decade before things start changing around. Maybe even a decade before things start changing around. I think that stimulus that has been introduced, America on one side, India is doing its best. All countries across the world are putting in their stimulus. Hopefully, we will be prevented from going into a full-fledged depression. I think right now, my reading is that we will get into a recession, but we'll probably escape with a recession and not a depression. So even though that's bad news, I think we must read it as good news rather than bad news, because a depression would have been a disaster for the world. Second, how is this different? It's not that global turnaround, downturns like this don't happen. It happened, and I have personally gone through two of them in my entrepreneurial journey. The first one was in 2000 when the dot-com bust happened, followed by 9/11, and I think that was a disaster. It took us a long time to come out of it. And just as we were beginning to come out of it in 2005 and 6, in 2008, the global financial downturn hit. And again, we went back down. We went down and took another 18 months before things came back to normal. It took almost 2009, 2010 before things were back in normal. So the question is, how is it different? I mean, it's happened earlier. It happens every few years. Another downturn has happened. Will come out. No, unfortunately, the real bad news this time is that this is different. This is truly different. Why is it different? It is different because this time, unlike the last two times, both in 2001 and 2008, the only impact was that we lost jobs, people lost jobs, businesses shut down, capital became very difficult, business came down, people struggled to put together money, funding became difficult, investments dried up for a while, but that's all. Same thing happened in 2001, same thing happened in 2008. This time, unfortunately, people are dying, and that's the big difference. This time, in addition to all of that I've described, the biggest concern this time is people are actually dying. A few million people are likely to die in the world because of the virus. And that's not even the bad news. The worst news is a few more million people are likely to die because of hunger caused by the drop in jobs. And that's the reason I think we have to temper all our predictions. So I'm going to be very candid with all of you here. Not just me, but many people over the last 40 days and in the continuing months and weeks will continue, like me, to come and share their thoughts on how long will it take and will we survive and what will happen to the recession, depression. I think I'm going to temper all the thoughts that I'm going to share with a very important assumption. The reality is, because people are dying, nobody really knows what will happen. So this is not an easy thing to predict. It's not very easy to come and say, you know what, in exactly four quarters from now, the world will be back to normal and everything will be fine. The reality is we don't know. And the reason we don't know is, despite all that we are attempting, we are doing social distancing, we are staying away from each other, we're going online, we are avoiding travel. The one thing that can change the world and bring us back to normal is the availability of a vaccine. Nothing else will matter. Social distancing does not kill the virus. Social distancing only stops the spread. And I think we have to understand this. So till a vaccine occurs, and that is likely to take probably sometime middle of 2021, if not end of 2021, we have to learn to live with the virus. And the way to learn to live with the virus essentially means that our consumer behavior will undergo significant changes. And that is the reason why all the business predictions that are going to come, nobody really knows. Let's look at what behavior is likely to change. Let's take one of the biggest, the essence of consumption anywhere in the world, including in India, is retail. If retail is shut, then consumption just collapses, as we have seen in the last 40 days. We shut all the retail stores, we shut all the restaurants, we shut all the entertainment houses, we shut all the malls. Consumption became nil simply because there is no place for people to go and spend the money. And because they were not spending the money, the businesses that were there were not able to generate revenue, and therefore people lost jobs, and therefore there is no income as well, which means the entire cycle, it's very important for people to earn money. But that's only half the story. The essence of an economy is people must keep earning money. The second half is equally important. When people earn that money, they must spend most of it. If people only earn money, then the economy is not working. And the people only can't spend money if they don't earn money. So a full perfect economic cycle involves people earning money continuously and spending most of it, keeping some of it as savings, most of it back in the system, which generates more cash for people to employ more people in their businesses. If that cycle comes to a grinding halt, we don't know how things will respond. Let's look at what changes are likely to happen. The first and the most important thing, there's a word that we all learned: social distancing. Social distancing means we have to stay away. People still are not sure whether it is traveling in the air, whether it comes through air. All sorts of theories are being put. The reality is we can't come in close contact, physical contact with people. Now, when you go to retail stores, we are used to going into retail stores, whether it's malls, whether it's supermarkets, whether it's small kirana shops, mom and pop stores. The essence of all of this is the fact that these are social outings for us. For Indian families, going out with their family, shopping, enjoying, having a day out is part of life. That's going to change. I'm told even in malls, most malls, that whenever they open are going to implement serious social distancing norms, which means in a mall, you're likely to be asked to stay away from each other for about 6 meters. Now that completely changes life. It means in supermarkets, now obviously stores are opening and people are not necessarily following the norms that were being followed for the last 40 days. Sooner or later, you will see people's own discipline mechanisms come in. At least half the people who are very careful about their health will stop avoiding these stores. They will stop going out, they will stop touching people, they will stop looking at stuff. Let's look at some products. Let's look at apparel. Apparel is a major consumption area at retail level because it's the highest gross margin item. I'm not going to discuss groceries because that's a food essential item. I'll keep that aside. But let's take apparel. All of us buy clothes several times a year. Each of us go into stores or online, mostly offline stores, and buy clothes. Now, the reality is that apparel surfaces carry the virus. We know it is a fact. And we all go into apparel stores, wear clothes, try it, and say, I don't want it. Then I leave it. And then I leave it, finish the trial, and then I walk off for somebody else to come and try. Those trials are going to stop. Nobody is going to allow us to try dresses anymore because those clothes could become carriers of germs. That's one thing. Second, Japan is a country where, despite all of this virus that started after China, Japan was one of the first countries that started. They have not seen significant impact. One of the reasons they've not seen significant impact is Japan is a country that for the last decade or so have got used to living with masks. If you go to Tokyo, forget the coronavirus. If you went to Tokyo even a year back and went into a train, you'll see more than half the people wearing masks. Masks is normal for them. They've got used to this and therefore there's not been a problem. Now for India, this is going to be a significant change. How many of us will wear masks? Initially, I think they will try, but after some time, some of them will stop. But even then, I can tell you that many consumers who go into retail stores will start wearing masks, and wearing masks and going and shopping becomes very difficult. So the essence of shopping itself will change. You have to go stay away from people. You can't touch anybody. You have to wear a mask. You can't try dresses. Suddenly you realize that life is not going to be this. At this point in time, electronics, let's say mobile phone, is not so much of a problem because these are sealed items. It's not that you try a phone. Normally you have one phone, but even there, most of the large mobile phone stores have what is called a model on display and you go touch, nobody is going to touch them because the surface of those mobile phones are germ carriers. So you will not go and touch it because you don't know who touched it before. And the person after you will not touch it because he thinks you have touched it, which means you will not go and touch those phones. You will not see them, the touch and feel. How is the phone looking? Can I press it? Can I see it? What is the size of the screen? What is the brightness of the screen? None of it we will see because we are now going to be frightened. That's a big thing. So electronics we can't do, apparel we can't do, all the trials we can't do. So that's the next big thing happening. Third, let's look at the biggest change. The retail worldwide has two important parts. The first and the most important part is what we see, which is the attractive retail stores, the front of the store. It's an attractive store. We walk in, we shop. But the secret of retail is a supply chain. And the supply chain is actually the global supply chain. When you walk into a store, wherever you are, I don't know where you have logged in from, but you could be from Bangalore, you could be from Chennai, you could be from Coimbatore, you could be from Cochin. All of you in your towns, you walk into a mobile store and look at, say, the latest iPhone. This iPhone gets designed in Cupertino in California by a group of product managers. But the parts that make the several thousand parts that go into an iPhone are collected and sourced from all over the world. And they're all shipped into a contract manufacturer, mostly in China, who put it together and then ship it back all over the world so that you in your small town, wherever you are, when you walk in, the phone is available. Now that supply chain has been thoroughly, totally disrupted. It is not a temporary thing that because of China, but I think people have learned a lesson. So there is a lot of talk saying people will move away from China, the businesses will come to India. Maybe, may not be, but that's not the point. The point is businesses will now be scared. It's not about India benefiting from China's difficulty at this time. The reality is business owners worldwide will now realize that it is a risk for us to put a supply chain focused on one place anyway. Tomorrow, the epidemic or the pandemic can hit some other part of the world. So your business is at risk and vulnerability. Vulnerable. So people will now start moving that stuff back into local chains. So a lot of stuff that is dependent on global supply chain may actually start moving into what I call local supply chain. So before me, I heard Anil Kumar explaining about how this is a local problem, global problem, but a global challenge, but a local opportunity. I think the reality is a lot of supply chains will move from global to local. Will it make life easy? It may not, because the fact is one of the advantages of a global supply chain is you're able to source material and manufacture product at the lowest cost possible. When you move them local, it need not be the lowest cost possible. Therefore, prices are likely to increase. When prices are likely to increase and to add to it, consumptions are likely to go down, prices are likely to increase more. No, so when I'm painting all of this, I'm not trying to give you a very desperate scenario or a negative scenario. What I'm trying to say is that significant changes are happening in the world, and all of those are happening because of consumer behavior. How are consumers going to behave? What is the new economic environment that's going to happen? How is supply chain? Let me tell you one more important thing that's happening. Here's another totally different thing. All of us, therefore, what is the easy answer? The easy answer to say is, therefore, I think people will move to e-commerce and the future of e-commerce is very bright. Yes, but I'm going to qualify that answer very carefully. Because I wanted to discuss the future of e-commerce, let me qualify by saying, yes, it is good. Yes, it is very positive, but I'm going to qualify this with one small thing. In the last 45 days, the first 10 days, I think all of us struggled to buy essential supplies, no food, nothing available. Slowly, the e-commerce companies started delivering, but I think they struggled because of lack of manpower. The reality is the supermarkets were shut. The e-commerce companies, the large companies such as the Big Baskets and Amazon struggled to deliver groceries, but our local Kirana store was open. These people, with whatever they could manage, they put some small chalk circles outside and said, stand in line, stay away from each other. I will give you rice, I will give you sugar, I will give you oil, I will give you dal. The essentials came. I think suddenly the role of those Kirana stores, who in our mind had a very low level have suddenly grown in respect, and they have stepped up to meet a gap that was created by both online stores and supermarkets. So in my view, from a perception point of view, I think they have benefited significantly. There's another thing that has happened, and this is a good news. I mean, we all talk about how we've all respected our doctors, our healthcare workers, our police, our armies, and everybody else who helped, who were the COVID warriors. I think in all of this, another group that formed the important COVID warriors were the small employees working in the retail stores who during this time tried their best to give you the essential supplies. The respect that we had for all those retail people has also gone up. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because after the stores open, the easy solution to say is therefore all customers will now move everything online. I think e-commerce is likely to benefit. E-commerce is likely to benefit significantly. Smaller stores, the medium-sized stores, the malls will take some time to come back, but eventually they will also figure out a way of how to deal with the crisis. But don't be surprised if the small kirana stores, the mom and pop, the family stores, the father, mother, family running small stores also gain from this. They may also benefit from the fact that the perception has gone up significantly for all of them. Okay. So now let me come back to essentially how will e-commerce change. Let's specifically focus on e-commerce. What is likely to happen? I think what is likely to happen is one, and this is more important to all of you who run your own small businesses. I know BNI is a group that has a whole lot of small and medium business owners who are members. I think this is very important for all of you. The reality is that all of you were dealing or trying to take your business as much as possible into the digital world. But there was no major acceleration. That acceleration is now going to jump. You have to now make sure that you move as much as possible of your business online as quickly as possible. Why? Why? Because if your business was dependent on dealing with people physically, that's not going to happen. Here's a very important thing that you have to keep in mind. We talk of social distancing in malls. We talk of social distancing in retailers. But the essence of the Indian economy is only two places. One is the manufacturing factories and the service offices. Offices of all companies, businesses. No office, no factory in India today is meant for social distancing. Have you seen any factory where people are able to work with a 6-meter distance between them? They don't exist. There is not a single factory that allows employees to keep a 6-meter distance. They all stand next to each other. Even if you wear a mask in a closed factory where the virus is likely to get transmitted in the air, there is no problem. There is no point wearing a mask and allowing people to touch and work very closely to each other, because sooner or later they will all fall sick. Similarly, in offices, most of our offices, especially large offices with huge manpower, thousands and thousands of people working, such as banks, such as financial services, such as IT companies. These are all meant for people sitting next to each other in small cubicles. None of them maintain social distancing. So what are you going to do? We're going to say, okay, if there are 4 cubicles next to each other, every third or fourth cubicle only will get occupied, which means if cubicle 1 is occupied, 2 and 3 will be vacant and the 4th will get occupied. What we're essentially saying is that the cost of office is going to jump up by about 3 times. No company can afford an increase in cost by 3 times. Even assuming they have removed their manpower or reduced the salary, the fact of the matter is that cost will kill. And therefore, more and more people will anyway be encouraged to work from home. And people are working from home as we are. So even after lockdown, even though, as we've seen in the last 2-3 days, people have come out, they've enjoyed themselves, they've gone and bought liquor, the reality, sooner or later, reality will set in and they'll all go back. Because it is not as if the virus went away, right? It's not as if the lockdown is over, the virus is gone. The virus is waiting. The reality is when you go, the virus will catch us again. So sooner or later, people will stay back home. When they stay back home, the essence of many businesses, which was based on people meeting, talking. So I know BNI, I've attended several BNI events, and the reason I'm mentioning it, that it is a perfect example of how small business owners come and meet, I think once a month over breakfast, exchange cards, exchange references, and say, okay, I can give you this contact, I can give you this connect. All of that is not going to happen. Those meetings are unlikely to happen. All those will shift online. Now, will it be efficient? We don't know. We have to try. We have to find ways to see how efficient. Now, this event that we're having with Talk, I've had several talk events that I've attended. They have been great fun. One of the pleasures is to talk and then come out and meet so many delegates, and they surround you, ask questions, you talk. I don't know how efficient all of this will be. So our entire life is going to change and move to a situation where the essence of interactivity, the essence of relationship building is gone. What about travel? At the slightest opportunity for any big meeting, we will take, I would used to take a morning flight from Bangalore to Bombay or Delhi or Chennai, go for some meeting, meet 3-4 meetings, and then come back in the evening. Sometimes you stay overnight because you have a lot of meetings in Bombay and Delhi, and you don't want to travel frequently. That is all finished because A, nobody wants to meet. B, the airlines are saying they will now have 3 or 4 seats vacant, which means the cost of flying will go up by 3 times. The railways are saying you can't sit next to each other, which means the cost of travel by trains will go up 3 times. Nobody wants to travel. One is the increased cost. Second, the panic about the virus. Third is people will say, let me do everything digitally. So our entire behavior is going to change. In which case, whether irrespective whatever business that you are currently in, my advice to you is very simple. Please go online as soon as possible. Can all businesses go online? I think most businesses can have an online component. Some businesses need not have an e-commerce element, but most businesses can. I think if you haven't done it, think of ways of how to digitize your business. Think of ways how you can communicate with your customers, with your vendors over a laptop screen or a phone without trying to meet them. There are some things for which physical meetings are required. So for example, we're in the business of selling drinks. Now these beverages to sell, we need to sample with retailers. Can I talk to all of them over a Zoom call? Yes, I can. Can I sample over a Zoom call? No, I can't. So the reality is some things we can't do. I still need to meet the retailer at least once. I still need to meet the vendor at least once. If a vendor is selling me a jaggery or a honey, I can't taste or sample the jaggery or the honey over this. Sometimes some samples can be couriered, but it's not the same. Some things will require physical. But look at your entire business. Go and take a pencil and a paper and redo your business visually. Write down every single thing that happens. Draw pictures. What happens in every stage of your business? Then think, can I take this part online? Can I take this part online? Can I take this part online? You will realize that in most businesses, 80% of the stuff can be done digitally. 20% can't. 10% can't. Those alone will become essential travel, essential face-to-face meetings. The rest are all going to be online. So who's going to benefit? Obviously, e-commerce is going to benefit. So the short thing is e-commerce is going to now become all pervasive for us. When we launched Again Drinks, we were very clear we did not want to sell digitally to start with. Not digitally means, let me clarify, we used to sell online with Amazon, we used to sell online with Big Basket, but we were not selling on our own site. We said we will not do e-commerce. But in the last 40 days, we've realized that suddenly in a situation like this, the offline stores are shut. The online stores suddenly decide that, no, we are only carrying essential. We don't want to carry so many products. So we are stuck, our business became zero. So in 30 days, in actually 20 days, our entire team digitally worked together and launched a WhatsApp ordering service. We did not meet each of us. We worked only on Zoom and we launched this service. We have a very simple phone number in Bangalore. Anybody, and if you're in Bangalore, you can try that service to find out how it works. It is of zero cost, absolutely no automation required. All you need is a phone number and a WhatsApp, and you're ready to sell your product. We're already doing that. If any of you want to try it, let me know. I'll share the number. You go and place an order for drinks. You'll get it delivered in Bangalore free of charge. And you will realize that we were forced to take that decision. We were forced to take the decision because we realized that we can no longer depend on offline retail stores. We can't purely depend on e-commerce. So we said, let's start our own WhatsApp ordering service. That's what will happen. Sooner or later, innovative things. In fact, day before yesterday, we put up our products on Dunzo. Next week, we'll be on Swiggy, we'll be on Zomato. What we are saying is we suddenly are focusing, completely redrawing our business, saying wherever there's a chance of reaching a customer digitally, we're doing that. We've also reached out to apartment houses. Large apartment blocks have groups of people selling into those communities. We've gone, contacted them over the phone, shipped them samples and say, you keep our product with you and sell it to people in your apartment block. All of this we are realizing is based on new consumer behavior. People don't want to leave apartment houses. People don't want to go out. And e-commerce, one of the challenges is that suddenly one of the challenges of everything going e-commerce, I'll tell you what are the negatives. One, there aren't enough people. There aren't enough people who are now available to work. Many of these large e-commerce companies such as Amazon and Big Basket were dependent on what is called migrant labor. Migrant labor essentially means people who are not necessarily local, but people coming from other parts of the state or other parts of India coming and working there. Most of them are going back. Now, where is the manpower? If all businesses move online, the digital companies have to employ thousands and thousands of more people to make deliveries. Those people are not available. So it's not an easy solution saying everything will go online. The cost of manpower will go up. Availability of manpower will become difficult. So I'm predicting a new set of people who are coming in who will supply only to large apartment houses. Apartment where there are 300, 400, 500,000 families living together. There'll be one group of people who will serve to that community. Mostly they will supply most product. So initially you'll call them and say, I want to buy essentials, I want to buy rice, I want to buy dal. Later they will supply you food products. Tomorrow you could call them and say, I'm looking to buy an iPhone, I've ordered. So many of these companies are now signing up with e-commerce companies. E-commerce companies are no longer allowed to enter the buildings. So they deliver it at the entrance. These people then go and deliver it inside the building. I'm predicting that these people will become more and more stronger because apartment blocks will be very, very careful. Even after the lockdown ends, they will not say anybody can come into the building. They will simply not allow. So I see significant changes happening in consumer behavior. I see significant changes happening in how people will respond to the crisis. I see significant changes happening in how business will change. I see significant changes happening in how offices will function. The only good thing is e-commerce future is good. And the biggest news that I can share with you, the biggest positive is, I think we have to close this by saying, don't worry, irrespective of whatever happened. Like most things in life, this too will pass. I think we are all innovative people. We are all very smart people. We will find ways of crossing this. It is difficult. The COVID virus is a very devastating virus. It is destroying people's lives. It is killing people, but we will get over it. We will come back to normal. And after all this, while I see a very different world, I still see a better world. I think all of us will come out better for this. While we will lose businesses, we will lose lives. I think as a society, as a world, as a nation, I see us coming together and becoming a better country, a better society, and a better world. So look forward to the future. Stay up, chin up. Things will be tough, but hang on because a bright future is awaiting all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Vaitheeswaran. These were really good insights, and I'm sure it's opened up a Pandora's box of questions, of comments on the future. So are you ready with the Q&A? Let's get started.
Sure, I'm happy.
Yeah. Great. So we have a question from Ganesha, and he's asking, what's the estimated percentage of increase in online retail because of the pandemic?
So Ganesha, it is very hard to put a number. And I started my talk by saying the reality is nobody knows. I think given the information we have, it is a reasonably safe prediction to make that e-commerce is going to benefit and benefit significantly. What the percentage number is, very, very hard to say. But I think in the short to medium term, you can expect significant growth. Significant growth is all I would say. Very hard to put a number because the reality is nobody knows.
Sure. Anurag is asking, he is from Trend OA, Mumbai. They are a startup into e-commerce for online women ethnic fashion. What would be the business channel suggestion post COVID, post the lockdown? Will it be just e-commerce, or will it be an omni-channel where there will be a cost involved in setting up a retail store? So it is, I think his question is omni-channel vis-a-vis just online.
So I think omni-channel, like I explained while I spoke, omni-channel has always been the most efficient way of building a business for a product like yours, which is ethnic wear. If you do omni-channel, which means you get orders digitally, you interact digitally, but you're able to make physical deliveries through a store, it's always good. But given the chances of how consumer behavior is likely to get impacted with the social distancing, wearing masks, I think the essence of dress, and I specifically took apparel as an example because it's a very large consumption area of people wearing dresses and trials. I think the trials are out of the window. So my initial suggestion to you is try and use enormous amounts of videos on your website. So if you want people to know how it is, just don't show pictures, show people wearing it, moving around, how it looks, and offer as close an experience as possible for trials so that they see it online before they order. But initially stay away from offline and omni-channel, focus on digital, see the customer response, and then evaluate how customer behavior is changing. See what's happening to apparel offline store 6 months down the line, and then decide whether you want to integrate offline. At this point in time, as far as possible, stay digital as much as possible. But remember, even there, if you ship a dress to a customer and she tries it and it doesn't fit her and she returns it, if you take it back, the reality is it's a risk. We don't know how the COVID is going to operate. Apparel is a big carrier of germs. Will you take it back? Will you not take it back? If you don't take it back, no customer will buy. If you take it back, then the chances are you're anyway spreading the virus, or at least you're potentially likely to spread the virus. Those are the risks you have to decide. It's not going to be an easy world. You have to take some hard decisions here.
Sure. Point taken. Now we have a question similar to that from Amit. He says he's into the furnishing retail business, which is curtains, blinds, flooring, which is largely a touch and feel product. How do you take this online?
I think if you're in the furnishing, especially if you're, let's say you're doing curtains and all, I think your business is likely to benefit and not lose, because on the face of it, it looks like a business that people will go and only touch and feel before they buy. But the reality is that's what we thought before e-commerce happened. We said touch and feel, nobody will buy stuff online, but people buy everything online. People buy jewelry also online. My view is that if you can bring as close as possible an experience in terms of close-ups of the product, explain the product in terms of the fabric and the texture and all of that in great detail, write great content, show videos. So if you're selling furnishing, if you can create videos to show how the furnishing will look when it is actually spread on a curtain and create dummies, then I think people will get an idea. The good thing about your product is if an order comes, you can go inside to a customer's home, install and come back. There's not going to be too much of return. I think you're likely to benefit if you create great content. For me, the secret of your success will be great content. If you have great content on your digital website, I think you're likely to benefit.
Sure. So I think what you're suggesting is not about what you have, it's about showing what you have and how it can work.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. We had a similar question around jewelry. The gentleman was asking that jewelry is still in a very nascent stage when it comes to online. Do you think this is a good segment industry, online jewelry, to be in?
Actually, you'll be surprised. The amount of people buying jewelry online has been regularly growing significantly year on year. So it's no longer a nascent area. I think you will find a whole lot of customers already buying jewelry. The only thing is it has been restricted purely to the SEC A+ areas. What you can do is, because of the COVID, in a post-COVID world, it is likely to move down, which means more people are likely to get attracted to buying jewelry. The answer is similar to what I said about furnishings and apparel. If you can create great content and explain the product and show great visual images and great visual experience, I think you're likely to benefit. The reality is that customers are not going to walk into jewelry stores. Even if they walk in, you're not going to allow them to try and leave it behind. And nobody buys jewelry without trying. So, I think again, great content could be a way to go. It will be hard though. It's not very easy to sell high value. Furnishings are easier. I mean, see, like they say, if a decision is irreversible, then people wait. The biggest risk is if you move fast. If a decision is reversible, the biggest risk is moving slow. In your case, because of the value of the product, in a sense, it's an irreversible decision because people could be several thousands or lakhs of rupees. It's going to be very tough. Unlike furnishing, you may have a bigger challenge on your hands.
Sure. Naveen is asking, what is the status of delivery automation? When are we going to see automated delivery by drones, robots, which will reduce the stress on manpower?
I think drone deliveries, so technically there is no issue. Technically, drones can deliver. Robots are a little bit of a problem because robots can still deliver within a complex, but cannot deliver to another place. You still need people. I mean, a world where robots will come out and physically deliver using driverless cars is maybe 10, 15 years away. Maybe 15 years later, you can ship a product out of your warehouse and a robo will take the product out of your warehouse and sit in a driverless car and reach the destination and go deliver and come. But I think that world is at least 15 years away. At this point in time, the only automation of delivery is possible is drones. Technically, it is possible. Drones can deliver. I think the challenge you will face is regulatory because in India, as in most parts of the country, drone movements are regulated significantly because it's a security risk. The reality is today you will deliver, tomorrow you will take videos, day after tomorrow people can fit a weapon on a drone. And if you take a weapon on a drone, you could just send it all over the place. So it will continue to always be regulated. I'm not sure what the government stand is on drone deliveries. Till the regulatory risks and the security risks are discussed, you will still have a problem. Technically, there's no issue. A drone can deliver today.
Sure, got it. We have a question again from Ganesha. He's asking about automobile dealerships. How do they embrace online retail since there are multiple touch points in this segment?
The reality is there's only one touch point that is required, which is a test drive. There's no other touch point that is required because today people come to an automobile showroom because it exists. If there was no automobile showroom, nobody will go because it doesn't exist. Why am I going to the showroom? If I want to buy a car, I go to the showroom. I go to a Honda dealership. I go to a Toyota dealership. I go to a Ford dealership. I go to Maruti. I go to Hyundai, whatever. I look at all the multiple models and come back. But largely, most people are fairly clear what they want, right? It is not that you go to 5, 6 brands, 10, 15 models and then pick one. People are very clear. I want to buy electric or I want to buy petrol or I want to buy diesel. I want to buy an automatic or I'm okay with a manual. I want a hatchback or I want a SUV. I want a mini SUV or I want a large SUV. I want a 5-seater or I want a 7-seater. People are fairly clear. These decisions are not taken inside a showroom. These decisions are taken inside a consumer's mind. The only thing that they want is after they meet these conditions, they shortlist maybe 2 or 3 models. Those models need to be test driven. Now, if you can create a digital experience where all the automobile cars are shown beautifully with videos, which is today available, all the manufacturers and the brands make great videos. All of them offer their product for test drives, which are available from so many people who produce those videos. Take those videos, show it, and finally, if the customer is serious and you have to evaluate the seriousness digitally, take the car out to pick up the customer from his or her home, take her for a test drive, and then try and close the deal. I think you can live comfortably without a showroom. In my view, you should not invest in showrooms anymore because that's a cost. It just kills the business. Go digital, go pick up the customer at her home, take her out for a test drive. And if she wants to buy, close it, otherwise leave it. But don't invest in showrooms. I think that world is very expensive.
Right. In fact, Mercedes-Benz CEO Martin Schweik said that buying a Mercedes should be as easy as buying food online. This was a statement about 3 days back. Okay, so we have questions, a lot of questions coming on this part. We have a few attendees who are from the travel industry, who are from the hospitality industry, and and they know that the next 18 to 24 months it's going to take to recover from the crisis. So how do these businesses survive?
I don't have an easy answer for you. I think you're in for a long haul. I think it's a long, hard winter for you. There is no easy answer. I mean, I can be very nice to you, but let me be brutally candid. Your business is not going to see any growth for the next 12 months minimum. Personal travel, people will be frightened. People don't have money to do personal travel. Official travel will be cut. You're going to be travel, hospitality, hotels are an industry that's going to be badly impacted. There is no better way of putting it. I think you have to figure out what to do. There is no better way of doing this. It's a hard life for you. I mean, I'd rather be brutally honest than to be nice to you.
Yeah, we need that. We need a good reality check. That's for sure. I had a question. I read in Economic Times yesterday that the retail sector overall in India has taken a beating of 5.5 lakh crores. So what do you think is the role of the government to infuse some kind of stimulus or liquidity into the market to boost the demand?
I think they've done that. So there was first round of stimulus that came. I'm reading reports saying the government is readying a second and a bigger stimulus round that's coming up. I don't know if it's true or it's a rumor, but the reports sound fairly strong and solid. So that's good. I hope they come up with. No question, retail is going to be very badly impacted. In fact, I did a similar seminar just about 2 weeks back with the CEO of the Retail Association of India, where we discussed the future of retail in India and the world. I think they're all expecting significant drops in retail sales. But the good thing is they were positive, saying hopefully by December, which is when the festive season starts, the Diwali, they're hoping to see some turnaround, at least in some parts of retail, which could be very nice. So I'm also hoping that happens. But certainly retail will recover much faster than travel and hospitality. I have no doubt about it. And we have seen the experience. You open a liquor store and people are jumping over each other to buy. So retail will come back.
Yeah, I mean, Karnataka did 45 crores in a day. It was just hilarious to see the.
Well, yesterday was 192.
Oh, okay. Okay, just a counter question. So this is, I mean, the government's revenues largely come from the excise duty on alcohol, right? Is that the only reason they would, let this open?
Well, that's my reading. I think they've done it because there is no government finances. They've been badly hit because business collection, tax collection is low. They've done it. I personally am not in favor of the decision, because the reality is that what is the point? I mean, everybody knows that you need money. There's no question about it. But the solution to that would have been to go to central government and ask for a bigger stimulus instead of opening those retail liquor stores and spreading the virus, because that's not going to solve the problem. And my bigger worry in all of this is not just the virus. A lot of people who go buy the liquor are probably from the lower income state of society. On the one hand, we are saying they don't have money, they're not earning, and then they're going and spending it in liquor, which means you're further increasing the chances that their wives and children at home are suffering for food. As it is, they don't have income. You should make sure they don't go and spend it on liquor. To me, that's a bigger tragedy of the whole thing. If poor people go and spend the little money that they have on liquor, what is the point? I mean, you're not even fighting the virus. You're creating a bigger social issue here. That would be the reason why I wouldn't have opened liquor for at least the next 3 months.
I think liquor is the bigger virus here.
Yes, no question. It creates a huge social issue, especially at home for children struggling for food, hungry. They'll continue to remain hungry. Their fathers will go drink. And what is this? It's just so sad.
It is. Sir, we have a question from Ravi. He's asking, what happens to wholesale markets? Should they also come online and embrace the whole e-com bandwagon?
I think so. Any market, wholesale, retail. Wholesale is a great place to do e-commerce, because one of the challenges in e-commerce is the cost of delivery is very high, because you're delivering individual customers. But if you take wholesale large quantities and deliver, your cost of delivery comes down. You could offer free shipping for a minimum order quantity, and wholesale works better. I would encourage wholesalers to go digital quickly.
Sure. Mr. Anil, if you have any questions, you can come in.
Yeah, it was so exciting because a lot of questions, and I think all relevant questions, and people are very curious about understanding how to deal with this uncertainty. I just want to, because you mentioned delivery is one of the most critical part of this e-commerce, and in the context of the scarcity of labor or reliable people available, if a good brand gets into online, and if their delivery gets delayed, or if it gets mishandled by unskilled people, do you think that that may affect the brand image of that particular brand? Um,
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, yes. If you don't deliver, I mean, if customer can't buy offline and you can't deliver online, then obviously the brand image gets impacted. You have to do it very carefully, which is why even though we launched it, I mean, I'm repeating the same thing. We launched a WhatsApp ordering system. We were so careful. For the last 40 days, we've got orders. Every single order has been delivered in 24 hours. And unless you're very sure about it, don't go online. I mean, there's no point going online because offline is not working, because online also you have to deliver. And it is better not to go online than to go online and have a bad experience. That makes it worse.
Yeah. And one more thing I just want to ask, in that context, do you think that, okay, any kind of centralized delivery model that is coming to your mind, that any a centralized model, instead of people going around and delivering, is there anything that, okay, any safe centralized delivery point where the consumers can come and pick up the products? And do you think that,
So
okay,
Amazon has what is called pickup centers. They built it over the last 3-4 years in India, but unfortunately, many of those pickup centers are now shut. So I'm not sure how that works. There's a company called QuickPod in Bangalore, which actually created the equivalent of post boxes where you can open the boxes using an app and an OTP, and it's always kept open. So Amazon will go and deliver it into that box and leave it. And because it's your order, you get the OTP. And when you go there through your app, you send an OTP, it opens for you, you take your stuff and go. But that never took off in India, because in India, the challenge is that driving roads are very difficult. Where will you go? Where will you park? So those things are becoming very difficult. So, there are infrastructure, especially in urban centers in India, where driving, the congestion is so hard. Some of these great solutions may not work so easily. So India has a unique set of challenges.
Yeah, I completely understand. Thank you so much, Mr. Vaitheeswaran, for joining.